Do you know what today is? Sunday, as I'm recording this, November the 21st. It is 1 year until the World Cup. I know you've seen a lot of cute little presentations about it and people saying, hey, World Cup. I'm going to give you the real deal Holyfield with regards to everything you need to know about what's going to happen November 21st in Qatar, 2022, ending up in December the 18th. In a World Cup unlike we've ever seen before. And I want you to get it all out of your system right now because they're not going to cancel the World Cup. They are not going to switch hosts last minute. If this was going to happen, it would have happened a long time ago. You lose hands when you talk about all the issues with regards to this Qatari World Cup. I still have nightmares of seeing Sepp Blatter open that envelope and going, Qatar! And then the camera switches out to the crowd and the Qatari group is like this and you see the American group behind them going, what? But we got the speech from President Obama and then fell flat. USA got the World Cup 4 years later, but at the time we didn't know. It was a real bummer. And we're like, what's going on? Qatar? They've never been to a World Cup. Whatever. I will say this. We should have a World Cup in the Middle East. We've had it everywhere else. The Middle East plays soccer, football. The Middle East has had some great moments in World Cups. My personal favorite, probably many of yours' personal favorite, 1994, Saudi Arabia, Saeed Al-Awaran with an incredible goal to beat Belgium, and Saudis get to the round of 16 in the USA 1994. So they deserve a seat at the table. Is Qatar the best choice? Where else would you have it? I guess you could do it in Israel, which is actually part of UEFA now, so no. Iran, you could do it in Saudi Arabia. Bahrain, Lebanon, Syria. Qatar is really your best bet. They came back with all the money, and the Middle East should have a World Cup. But I want to get it all out of your system because, as I said, the long list of issues with real serious issues with Qatar, corruption, and we know that happened, bribery, very, very rich people there and stuffing money into very, very deep pockets. What about LGBTQ issues? Now, there's going to be a lot of gay players, gay people from all walk of life going into Qatar, and their history dealing with homosexuality is a big problem. And Qatar is going to have to deal with it and deal with it in a good way and better be smart about it. Whatever they're used to doing, it's a different story when they're hosting a big. They got to be welcoming to everyone. That's another issue. Obviously, the horrible treatment of workers, the migrant workers that are come in that are underpaid to build these stadiums, which we'll talk about in a moment. Qatar, again, was never my first choice. I didn't really want it there. I think in hindsight, I'd say the Middle East has to have one. But at this point, they're not switching anything. So get used to it. We can still arguing. Some of these countries tried to boycott, but that never came through. There's not going to be enough momentum to stop it. So let's look at the World Cup on its own merits. Obviously, there's a lot to feel. Unless you want to boycott it as a viewer, you're welcome to. I respect that. I shall not do that. I'm hoping to be there. We're trying to get the soccer OG in Qatar so we can do this. I know I talk about the U.S. men's national team a lot, but we want to talk about the world's game and bring it to you. But that's another issue. Hotels. Not enough hotels for people coming in. Having to move the World Cup to the winter months, which had to make everyone redo their schedules, which is a pain in the butt. By the way, I'm kind of warming up to a winter World Cup. We're all accustomed to the summer World Cup, and when the next summer rolls up, I'm going to be bummed when there's no games going on. But the idea of one in the winter, we haven't seen it. I don't know. I'm warming up to seeing something different. And today on the Soccer OG. By the way, check out the Soccer OG podcast, new one coming out on Monday. I'll be joined by John Harkes, former voice of U.S. Soccer, former U.S. international, father of a young man who is Ian Harkes, trying to get in the U.S. player pool. We'll have a good conversation. Check that out. The one with Alan Hopkins is out. Thanks for everyone who's checked it out on their own. But today on the Soccer OG, I'm going to tell you why this could be one of the best World Cups of all time. There's a lot of ingredients that could make it that, and I will get to it. Make sure you like and subscribe to Soccer OG. Do it now. Click it, and we'll move forward. Because I'm going to give you some knowledge you're not getting anywhere else. Because I come very well prepared. And I'm not trying to be cute. Information, and we make it fun. We're having a real conversation, even though I'm doing all the talking. Let's quickly show you who's qualified for the World Cup already. There it is, and that is an impressive list. 13 teams, which is almost half of the field. Obviously, the Qataris, who have bought themselves a pretty good team. And if you saw them this summer, they can play. They could probably make a knockout stages. They're going to get a favorable group. Germany, Denmark, France, Belgium. Belgium, number 1 in the world. Croatia, Spain, Serbia, England, Switzerland, Netherlands, Argentina, and Brazil. So, that's a great... The only ones missing there from the European side, Portugal and Italy, who now have to go into this very confusing new format of 12 teams. By the way, these playoff tournaments that lead up to the World Cup are part of what's going to make this spectacle so amazing. Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo, Italy, the defending European champions, will have to be in a qualifying. They're seeded, but they're going to have to play a few games to try and get the World Cup. It's not going to be easy, so it's not a slam dunk that they can make it in. But there's some good teams that they're going to have to compete with. Scotland's seeded. You have those plucky Czechs that made it to the quarterfinals of the Euros. You have Turkey. You have Sweden. You have Russia. You have Wales, Poland. 3 teams out of those 12 will make the World Cup and join those 13. Over in Asia, South Korea and Iran are pretty much in. Saudi Arabia, pretty much in. And then either Australia or Japan would probably make it. And I think the 5th one has a chance to make it to via the playoff, which we'll talk about here in a moment. CONCACAF, Canada, extremely talented. USA, Mexico, probably the 3 that make it automatically. All due respect to Panama. They could probably upset the apple cart here, but I think it's going to be those big 3. But you see what I'm getting to. You're getting a tournament with all the heavy hitters. And that makes this World Cup already very special because you have had... Africa, we're too far out to determine who's going to make it. But all the big names are there. They're still competing. Algeria, Ghana, Egypt, Senegal, Morocco, Cameroon, Nigeria. 5 of those nations will make it. And they are going to be very well equipped. Not super, super far from home. But we'll get to that here shortly. South Korea I talked about. This is a team that has a shot, I think, to do it. Remember the last World Cup, they beat Germany to help Mexico make the round of 16. And that was a very young team. And now Son Heung-min and Lee Jae-sung, joined by Hwang Hee-chan, who plays at Wolves, Kim Min-jae. And this young Korean team, who made the semifinals in 2002, have a chance to make some noise again here. It's going to be a stacked field. That is why this World Cup could be extremely entertaining. It's always entertaining, but entertaining, competitive to an umpteenth degree. Now, when you look at where World Cups are hosted, we're going to a place where we just don't know. Have you seen the stadiums? The stadiums they look like these kaiju animals that come from the center of the earth like Godzilla. They look like spaceships. They're all brand new. They all have these incredible roofs and they're state-of-the-art, built for this competition alone, which is crazy. An incredible waste of money because they don't have enough to build these. I think it's 8 stadiums. The Lusail Stadium is 80,000 seats. How many people are in Qatar? It's not quite completed, but they look out of a Star Wars movie, some of these stadiums, but really nice. Really, really nice. But that's the crazy money that we're talking about. So that's going to make this interesting. Air conditioned, although November, December is going to be pretty decent temperatures there, and that's why they're having it. You add that to the list as well. We can't do the World Cup in the summer because it's too hot. Oh, well, hello. We all deal with heat. I'm from Miami, man. You want to talk about heat? But that's another thing on the list. It was just a pain that Qatar had to do it. You had so many stipulations. But we don't know what's going to happen. I think that evens the playing field. Now, when you look at where World Cups have been, Europe is dominating to me, an uncomfortable level because it doesn't feel a World Cup. A World Cup is where the whole world competes. And we haven't had a non-European team win a World Cup since 2002. And maybe this is a place to do it. I mean, there's a short list because these European teams are just so rock solid. Number one, Belgium. Reigning World Cup champs, France. The Italians get it in there. The Germans, Spain, England. I mean, it's going to be hard to pry it away from the Europeans. But there's talent around the rest of the world. Europe does well because they have the infrastructure. They have the investment. They have the organization. They have the money. And the leagues help prepare these teams and these players. But a lot of the talent is the same all over the world. I mean, you look at African talent, how many African players are now representing European national teams? Long list. To a lesser degree, some other parts of the world. But the talent is there, and it's an uphill climb. Obviously, when you think of teams that could probably do it, you go to Argentina and Brazil. And Brazil's the favorite right now, plus 550. France is plus 600. Argentina has a real shot too, because they have built a system that works around Lionel Messi, where it's not Lionel Messi. They're winning games 1-0 this all the way, and they're just a very uncompromising bunch. Really excellent double pivot in the midfield. Good players, Lautaro Martinez, who's an incredible support for Lionel Messi. So everyone's going to go, Lionel Messi. But if they have a shot at winning the World Cup, it's because of the rest of the team. They could do it. Mexico, USA, if one of these teams can get on, it depends on the draw, things can get complicated. So let's go to the World Cups. The last two World Cups in Europe, 2018 in Russia, 2006 in Germany. All 4 semifinalists were European. 6 of the 8 quarterfinalists were European. When the World Cup's not held in Europe, crazier things happen. We saw what happened in 2002. Brazil winning it. South Korea made a semifinal. USA made a quarterfinal. South Africa 2010, although it became very European. Spain, Netherlands. You had Uruguay. You had Ghana. You had some very interesting stories. 2014 in Brazil. Costa Rica. Argentina making a final. Brazil making a semi. You can see if it's in Europe, you know what's going to happen. It becomes a European championship, and that's not fun. I like European championships. I don't want them in the World Cup. I want to see all world represented down the stretch here. At least a couple regions, even if it's just Europe and South America. I want a good balance. What do we expect in Qatar? No home field advantage for anyone. This opens things up considerably, and who adapts with everything will determine this World Cup in a big way, but the Europeans will not have an edge like they did 3 years ago in Russia. Makes it very compelling in my estimation. So we look ahead at how this sets up. We talked about this European tournament to determine the final 3 European sides. And then you have the Intercontinental Tournament where you have 4 regions represented. I also like to call this tournament Keep New Zealand Out of the World Cup, because that is basically what it is. You have the 5th place team from South America. You have the 4th place team from CONCACAF. You have the 5th place team out of Asia. And you have the Oceania winner, New Zealand, in all that. I haven't even checked it. I just assume New Zealand's winning that. Unless it's Papua New Guinea or Tahiti or Vanuatu. I just don't think it. But Oceania needs a spot in the World Cup, even if they take their lumps. So it's disappointing. That's why one of the positives of an expanded World Cup. That tournament's going to be held in June. And man, that's going to be fantastic. Could be Colombia or Uruguay in South America. Could be Japan or Australia. Could be Mexico or USA. Probably Mexico or Panama. That's going to be a good tournament. And that all feeds into the spectacle of this World Cup. And that tournament is going to be single leg, neutral site. It's been so many games. By the way, side note here. I think we're going to start, because of what's happened in this era of COVID and such a huge burden on players to play, especially good players that play for the national team. I think we're going to see some high-profile players that are going to go, you know what? I'm good just playing on the club. I'm good just making money here. so many times we hear from players, they did not enjoy their international experience. Not so much the games, but dealing with this and travel and all. And they're like, there's going to be players that go, I don't care. I'm fine just playing and making money and focusing on this. Look at, Gareth Bale represents his country, but when he went to Real Madrid and making money, he's like, I'm good. I don't need to go back to Real Madrid. So I think that is a possibility because we've put such a demand on these players. It's ridiculous. And we're going to keep doing it. And I think there's going to be a pushback. And I applaud those guys who come up and say that. So that could be a possibility. So then you get the firm 32 teams. And man, this is going to be, it's going to be incredible, I think. I really believe by the end of Qatar, we could say that was the best World Cup I've ever seen. And it's because it's going to be a true World Cup. Because we have a host that evens the playing field. The Europeans will be favored. But you have two very good South American teams. I'd throw Ecuador in there. And if Colombia gets their crap straight, which is really frustrating, they could cause problems. South Korea, as I told you, USA, Canada, and Mexico. Do not sleep on those CONCACAF teams. They, if they get a good draw, could do very well. Man, Iran almost won their group in Russia. They really did, ahead of Spain and Portugal. They're doing something right there. And when you have all that in these brand new stadiums, the stadium's amazing. I can't wait to see them all, as I said. In the wintertime, it's going to throw everyone out of whack. Think of the European guys. They have that traditional calendar, and now they're going to have to take a break. That's not going to help them. Other nations, other leagues and other places are a little softer around that time where they could break. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but it's going to play out in some way. And here we go. A year to go for this incredible World Cup. Is it the perfect World Cup? No. Far from it. But embrace it. I know it's hard to push aside everything that we've seen and heard about the host bid. And I respect if you step away. But I like to focus on the games. Just like what I said about Ted Nugent last time. Yeah, we got a good jam. Qatar, yeah, but you have the World Cup there. And we'll see where it goes. Hey, I appreciate you guys checking out my videos. I absolutely love it. Let's talk some more. We'll get back to some U.S. men's national team stuff here in the weeks ahead. But enjoy it. 365 days. It's going to fly by. And we'll be at the World Cup. And we'll be watching it here in the United States together at crazy hours of the night. Maybe some hot tea. Maybe something a little stronger. Subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Subscribe and like the Soccer OG.